Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Expat Conversations with Michael Nolen, sponsored by the University of Guadalajara, Institute of Investigation, Innovation, and Governance. I want to say thank you for tuning in today. I'm very fortunate to be sitting here at the lovely Villa de Monte Carlo Hotel in beautiful Lake Chapala, Mexico. Well, we're not actually in Lake Chapala. We're on the north shore of Lake Chapala in central Mexico. And it is a very, very large expat community. The Institute of Investigation and Innovation and Governance at the university has a large research program that studies the impact of the expats on the country of Mexico. The director of that is Dr. Marco Antonio Cortez Gradado, who has become a good friend of mine over the years. I had a radio show in Puerto Vallarta for 5 years through the university radio station, 104.3 FM, which allowed me to learn a lot and get a lot of information out to the expat community there in the Bay of Banderas. Well, over the last couple of years, we decided to move over here to the Lake Chapala Society, or the Lake Chapala area, which has probably the second largest grouping of, or community of expats in Mexico. There are many from the United States, there are many from Canada, Europe, and basically all over the world. I know there's a large Japanese group that are here, many from Australia, New Zealand, and as I mentioned, other parts of the world. And this is just an outreach program that we're trying to get information to the expat community and the general public about many, many different topics. And I want to again say thank you very much to the Villa Monte Carlo Resort. This resort has actually been here for over 100 years. And it has many facilities that are open to the public. As I mentioned, it's a hotel. They have mineral water spa, swimming pools with hot thermal waters. In every room, if you go to take a bath or a shower, it's not just running water, tap water, it's mineral water, which is very, very healthy for you. They have about a dozen pickleball courts, a very, very nice restaurant, convention facility. So it's an all-in-one, very nice area. It just sits on the edge of the northern part of Lake Chapala. So if you have an opportunity to come over here to the Monte Carlo Hotel and Resort, we highly recommend you do it. Today, I'm very, very fortunate to have a great guest, Dan Williams. And Dan is former post commander of the Lake Chapala American Legion, post number 7. And I'll just introduce him, let him tell you who he is and what he did. Dan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for appreciate your time to come on the show. And thank you very much. I know you're in the Army. I want to say thank you very much for your service to our country. And please give us a little bio about yourself, how you got down here to Lake Chapala and your time in the service. And then we'll talk about the post, number 7, what all they do down here, what all the benefits. So all the expats that are living here in this area, or newcomers, or the general public, you just want to come over to the restaurant or whatever. You have some great, great food over there and a lot of fun entertainment and parties, but a lot of charitable stuff that y'all do. So again, thank you very much for taking your time to come today. Welcome.
Okay.
The mic is yours.
My name is Dan Williams. I'm 77 years old. I'll be 78 next month on September 16th. And my wife and I have lived down here in Mexico for about going on, well, a little over 20 years. I was born in Southern California, in Culver City, California. When I was in school, most of my friends that I hang with were Mexicans. I enjoyed being with the Mexicans. We used to go down to Baja California all the time, to the beach and stuff. I was in the Army in the 82nd Airborne, jumped out of airplanes. Some people don't think that's too good, but
The ones that are running really well, it's
Yeah.
usually kind of question you all, but
this wasn't because the plane, anything was wrong with the plane. But anyway, uh,
it's what they told you to do.
my mother wasn't too happy when I went into the airborne, but I was able to get by that and get her calmed down. I put 3 years in the Army. I was stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I never got to go out of the United States, which kind of at first was a little bit upsetting, but I did go and deal with the University of Ole Miss during the entrance of the first black person, James Meredith, to go to the University of Ole Miss. I was there. We relieved the National Guard. And so that actually wasn't that dramatic. As much
But it
as
was
I thought.
history.
But it's history.
It was history.
And
of the
they
United
don't
States,
have
the
a
Civil
lot of
Rights
that
movement.
about that incident because they wouldn't let us use our cameras or anything. I used to carry a camera with me when I jumped and everything, and I took pictures. Well, they took our cameras away, wouldn't let us take any pictures, didn't want us talking to anybody about what we were doing, and so that was kind of it. So it was a low-key thing. As soon as we left Oxford, Mississippi, about less than a week later, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis.
It had been 1960,
1961,
64.
no,
No,
62.
before that,
62.
Yeah.
In September of 62, they shipped us down to Eglin Air Force Base in Florida, and they had sand tables and everything, and we were all prepared to jump in on Cuba over the missiles that they had there, the Russians and everything. Fortunately, that worked out just fine, and we didn't have to do it. Unfortunately, I never got to leave the United States like I thought I would to
See the world.
see some of the rest of the world, but I didn't do it. So anyways, I got out of the Army in January 65. I did some odd different work. I worked for Disneyland for a while. And then,
In Anaheim, Southern California.
yes. And that was the only place Disneyland was.
Well,
back
that's
in
true.
those
They
days.
didn't have Orlando,
And,
Florida.
Yeah. And then I saw an ad that they were advertising for firemen. And so I took the fireman's test for Buena Park, California, and I got a job. And I worked there for about almost 14 years. And I moved up in rank to administrative assistant to the fire chief. And the fire chief was probably my age. And so he was going to be there for a while. And I wanted to be a chief. So I took a chief's job in Olathe, Kansas. I was there for a little over 7 years. And my wife is a nurse. And so we got kind of tired of the cold, freezing winters and then the real humid summers. So I got an offer of a job in Arizona for another fire chief job in Clarkdale, California. And so we moved there, and I was chief for Clarkdale until 1997 when I retired. And then I did a home inspection business for a while my wife had a clinic with two partners, a medical clinic. Being a nurse, she did a pretty good job there. And then when she was able to retire from that, we moved down to Mexico. And so we've been here for 20 years, actually a little over 20 years, and we love it and we enjoy it. And I was a member of the American Legion in Clarkdale, and actually it was in Cottonwood. And I talked to a guy here at the post in Chapala, and he talked me into transferring my membership here. And I did that in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been at the post since then. And then I served as commander from June 07 till June 09. And then I've been on the executive board ever since. And I've been involved in different programs with the Legion, supporting not only veterans, but supporting the community. And
Well, basically, your entire adult life, you were giving service to our country, and then you're giving service to your communities as a firefighter and raising up to the rank of chief. I'm 25% American Indian, Creek, Muskogee Nation out of Oklahoma. I knew I was never going to be chief, no matter how many places I moved. You got to be full blood to be chief. So I
Yeah.
knew I was never going to be that. And so anyway. And I think you're kind of probably lucky if you would have been talking to my mother, who was an Army nurse for a long time. I tried to take her on a cruise for her 80th birthday, a 7-week cruise. I mean, a 7-day cruise. And she said, Michael, I'd love to spend time with you, but that's the last damn thing I want to do is get on a ship. I said, Mom, why? She said, I spent 48 days on a destroyer coming back from India to the United States at the conclusion of World War II. She says, me, 25 or 6 other nurses, about 12 doctors, some medics, and about 400 Marines. And she said, it wasn't any pleasure cruise.
yeah.
She said, bumpy waters, terrible food. She said, we were so glad to get back to Norfolk, Virginia. They thought they were going to stop in Hawaii and then San Diego and then Norfolk. Didn't work out that way. They just kept going. And she said she was so sick and miserable. So I don't know.
I understand that. I really do.
Again, thank you for your service to the country. Tell us a little bit about Post 7 over here in Lake Chapala. As I mentioned, I lived in Puerto Vallarta and had my radio show over there through the university for 5 years. And the Post there meets at, I think it was Stan's Sports Bar. They really don't have a building. They meet infrequently. I mean, a lot of the guys are there hanging out at the restaurant and the bar, but they don't have a real facility. And it's a fun place to hang out. You're just right off the beach, and you never know what's going to happen. But it's a fun place, touristy place. Different group of vets coming in
Right.
every week, coming in on the cruise ships, coming in for vacation, and they get tired of hanging out at the resort. So they come down, and they find out there's a chapter there or a post, and man, they're there for a couple of days. So it's a changing of the guard all the time. Over here in Lake Chapala, I was surprised to find you have a very, very beautiful post. It's a very nice part of town, great restaurant. It's a permanent location. It takes up about a half square block and very well organized. I don't know the history of it, how long it's been over in that area, but very well organized. You do a lot for the community, and I'll be quiet, which is hard for me to do, but I will for a minute and let you fill us all in about the post, the history, how long they've been down here, and the services they provide.
Well, our post was founded almost 60 years ago on the 15th of November, 60 years ago. We've moved around. We've moved around a little bit at different locations. In 1987, we had 100 members. In 1989, it was kicked up to 200. We moved to our current location in February of 93, and we've been there since then. And our current number of members is 118. That's for today. We usually pick up, probably up to 100. We get out about 140 to 150 members by the start of next year.
Yeah, we're filming this on the latter part of August 2022, and although there's a larger group of permanent residents, expat residents here in the Lake Chapala area than there is in Puerto Vallarta, but you have a lot more snowbirds.
Yes.
So there'll be a lot of snowbirds coming. I call it usually Thanksgiving to Easter, which is, more or less October, November till March, April, depending on the temperature and the weather up in
Right.
Minnesota and Wisconsin and Seattle, whatever.
That's correct. And like I said, we have also we've started a Sons of the Legion organization a couple of years ago, and I'm not sure how many members are in there. And we also have an auxiliary. I don't know if I call the ladies auxiliary anymore because women have served in the service. And
Well, my mother, like I said, my mother and father met in the 142nd General Hospital during World War II, at the beginning of World War II. And, she was a colonel at the end, and my dad was like a staff sergeant. He always said he was captain of his ship, but he was married to an admiral. Now, and that was pretty darn true. But, yeah, there's a lot of women in the service, and we have to say thank you very much. They do unbelievable jobs. I think maybe the Marines just made their first head of the Marines, 2-star lady that was a Marine pilot. And so there's been a lot of change in the military since they started it during the Revolutionary War. I wasn't born then, but I was born close back then.
well, like I said, the auxiliary, we used to call it the ladies auxiliary, but that's really not the case anymore. I don't know if we have any male members of the auxiliary, to be honest with you.
Well, I am a son. I signed up when I moved over here because of my parents, grandparents, great-grandparents were all in the military. So I was able to join as a son of the Legion.
Good. And so we do things to support the community as well. We provide English classes and also Spanish classes. Almost every day during the week, there's an AA, Alcoholics Anonymous meeting that they hold from 9:30 till about 11 o'clock. Our restaurant and bar is open to
let's talk about that restaurant now, because I've been over there. Tuesday is steak day. You get a really, really nice ribeye and a baked potato and a salad and some desserts for about $10?
It's pretty inexpensive.
Pretty inexpensive and pretty darn tasty, I'll tell you that.
And it is open to the public. I mean, in fact, we're getting a lot more Mexicans coming
You
in.
open for breakfast, don't you?
Yeah.
A lot of the days?
Yeah. We're getting a lot more Mexicans coming in and eating here. Having lived in this area for 20 years, a lot of the Mexicans that come in, I know. I've met them before in prior areas. And I'm happy to see them come in. And they're pretty happy with the price and the food that they get. So
the quality is second to none.
They come back. And so it's
well, what are your hours? What hours is the post open? And what days?
We open at 9 o'clock during the week, and also on Saturdays at 9 o'clock. And on Saturdays, starting at 3 o'clock, we have like taco special. You can get tacos like beef, or you can get pork, or you can get fish. My wife and I usually get a taco salad, with beans, and that's something we really enjoy. On Sundays, we've just made some changes. Later in the day on Saturday, after they're serving the tacos, they have some like bar food, wings and some other things that you can have. And then on Sunday is hamburger day. They do grilled hamburgers, and they do that until they start at about noon, and they do it till about 4 o'clock, and then they start with the bar food again after that. But it's been pretty popular program as far as what we're offering. We also support a number of organizations that support the community. I think it's important for everybody to realize that the Legion doesn't just help veterans and ex-military people. We help the community. We've got a program called Casas in Crisis. I've worked with that personally, where we find homes that are mainly the bathroom facilities are either non-existent or so terrible it's bad. We've repaired several houses, completely remodeled their bathroom, put new toilets and everything in, make sure everything works, even to the point of running new sewer lines out to the street.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, that was one. We have Love in Action, which is kind of like an orphanage that we support. When I was commander, I had the opportunity to work with the city. We did a joint function at City Hall, a dance and thing, and we split the difference with the income. We raised 10,000 pesos was our share, which we donated to Amor in Action.
Mm-hmm.
And the city donated their portion to DEEF.
Okay.
And so we've been involved in that. We also have reading glasses. We have a box set up where people can bring their glasses that they're no longer needing. They deposit there. And we kind of work with DEEF on that to distribute the glasses to people who need them.
That's great.
And then there's another one that the halfway house that I'm not real familiar with. We've got a couple of people that are working on that. And like I say, I've got enough on my table already, so I haven't gotten involved with that. But we do a good job, I think, to helping the community, because really the community, we're so happy that they allow us and accept us and treat us so well. You know,
A lot of expats, they move down here because of the beautiful weather.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it never really gets below 60. It never really gets above 85. We're at about 5,300 feet altitude. So it's not really too cold. It's not really too hot. Pleasant. We have beautiful mountains to the north of us. The largest body in all of Mexico, and I think most of Hispanic America.
Well, it's the largest
bottle
natural
of
lake
water
in Mexico.
I had a lady named Aurora, who is a attaché from the Mexican government to the expat community. She states it's about 40 kilometers long, and in parts 17, 18 kilometers wide. Some parts it's only maybe 10 kilometers.
Yeah.
But it's a big body of water.
It is.
But you don't feel the humidity like you do when I was in Puerto Vallarta.
No.
Because of the higher altitude.
But it does help moderate the temperature.
Oh, it does. And it's beautiful. I mean, we have a year-round growing season. I'll talk to my brothers or sisters in Oklahoma, and I'll say, what are y'all doing? Oh, we're out harvesting tomatoes or whatever. What are you doing? I say, I'm getting papayas or mangoes or pineapples or strawberries. And this is in January and December.
I know.
And they said, how do you have that? I said, we have a year-round growing season. The flowers are incredible down here. Every type of flower you'd ever want to see. Beautiful flowering trees.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a beautiful place. And that's why people like yourself and I and probably 30, 40 other thousand expats have decided to call this temporary home during the snowbird season, or many, many of us have called it permanent home.
Yes.
And we love it. And it's great that organizations like the American Legion have been involved into the community. And that's what it is. The Mexican people, we have to remember we're in a foreign country.
That's correct.
But they open us or welcome us with open arms. And besides the culture that's here, the food, the people are what really make it.
You're right.
I mean, they're so entertaining, so fun, so welcoming, and always ready to have a good time.
Right.
And speaking of good times, I know the American Legion has a lot of special occasions. 4th of July is always a fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
Veterans Day, other holidays, Flag Day. There's always live music over there, it seems like. Silent auctions, public auctions with some really unique gifts sometimes. 50-50 raffles. And all the money that is raised goes to helping the community.
Yes, it does.
So y'all do a lot of great things.
Well, we try to, and like I said, we always are listening to things that might need help in the community, like the cemetery. We've got a work group getting ready to go to the cemetery to do cleanup and help maintain the grass and the trees and stuff. We've been doing that ever since I've been there.
That's great.
And I have a copy of a letter that we got from City Hall giving us permission to control the maintenance of the expat area of the cemetery.
Are there very many expats that are buried down here, or do most of them get shipped back to the States?
There's a lot of them buried. A lot of people don't realize how many expats are actually buried down here. And we've had, I can't tell you how many veterans are over in the cemetery, but we've identified a number of them. And, but it's an expat section that's entirely different than the way the Mexicans do, because it's more like a regular cemetery with headstones and everything. And where the Mexicans have a tendency to have the little buildings where they put multiple family members in it, so it's a little bit different in that respect, but it's a fairly secure facility, and we've always been happy with the way the Mexican government has allowed us and kept us informed of what's going on.
Well, the Mexican culture is when someone passes on is different. I mean, the Day of the Dead, for example, is a huge holiday.
Yes.
Not in all of Mexico, but much of Mexico, to where they go and they honor their dead. They bring the foods that the one that's passed on liked, the different types of drinks, the different music, and they'll spend all night, or maybe 2 nights, multiple nights in the cemetery. And they do have a lot of respect for the ones that have passed on before them.
Yes,
and
they do.
Some of the different cemeteries that I've been to in Guadalajara, in this area, other parts of Mexico, are really, really spectacular.
Yes, they
I
do.
mean, they really go all out for it.
They do a beautiful job.
I've been very, very fortunate over the last several years to have a close relationship with the consulate in Guadalajara and in Puerto Vallarta, especially Kelly Trainer, who's a consulate agent there. She was on my show many, many times talking about all the different updates and things going on through the United States government to pass on to the expats. She was always on every year about if you're going to be traveling to get on the program to let the government know you're going somewhere. If someone passes on, if someone's down and out and needs help. She was very, very helpful and continues to do that. I've been very fortunate to have the United States Ambassador to Mexico on my radio show once. The past 2 consulate generals in Guadalajara, Tamara Anderson and Robin Masterman, and I'm hoping in the next month or so to have the new consulate on my radio and on this program also. So they have a really close working relationship, the United States government does, with the Mexican government. And they also work closely with anybody that is a former military person or someone that's an expat in any way that loses a family member. If they need to get the body back to the United States, they can cut a lot of red tape and things like that. But so, we're very happy that we do have a consulate in Guadalajara that works so close with us. Let me ask you, speaking of Guadalajara, I'd heard rumor that the post in Guadalajara has been closed for a while, but they may be opening it back up. Have you heard anything else new about that?
From what I've heard, they're working on it right now. And in fact, our current commander, Randall Butler, is working with them to get it opened up. And he's also second vice of the Department of Mexico, Randy is. And so I think they're just looking for a spot. And they've got enough members that are willing to stick with the post up there. It appears that they're going to be reopening.
Well, great.
So.
Let me ask you a question. There's not a Navy League here, is there?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. That was one of the funnest things I got to do over the years while I was living in Puerto Vallarta was through the American Legion and the Navy League. Anytime a Navy ship would come into the Bay of Banderas or one of the Coast Guard ships, through the Navy League, I had a good friend named John Murphy who owns Murphy's Irish Pub right on the Malecone in downtown Puerto Vallarta. It's former Coast Guard. And anytime the Coast Guard would bring a ship in, he would invite the captain and all the officers down to his restaurant for some festivity, entertainment, food, drinks. And then within a day or two, depending on the stay of the vessel, we get to go out and take tours. And I've been on probably 12 or 13 different Navy or Coast Guard ships. The Coast Guard would come right into the port and park where the cruise ships did. The Navy ships stayed out about 4 or 5 miles because of security.
Right.
I was on one ship that was brand new. It had just been built in Georgia, had sailed down through the Panama Canal. It was a cruiser. It had 64 cruise missiles on it, nuclear cruise missiles. And the captain had been in the Navy 31 years. He had 420 staff on his, or sailors on his ship. He said half of them were under 22, and about 80% of them was their first sailing.
Wow.
So I asked him, I said, why are you still in the Navy? 31, 32 years. Why are you not out? He goes, I've got a brand new ship. I've got a great staff. I've got a great crew. I'm getting good pay. Why would I get out? I've been around the world many times and I look to go some more. But it was amazing to see the technology on this brand new ship. Yeah. The what I called Star Wars room was a pod, was in a room in the center of the ship, about 15 pods with 4 screens at each pod, 1 to 2 sailors at all time manning it, even when it's in port. And they watched underwater, water level, half a mile, 2 miles above, and then the sky. And they had all these screens and the technology.
You don't sneak up on them.
You don't sneak up on them, and they can keep track of anything. But the capability of that ship, I mean, he says, I hope I never have to push a button. But this is, you know, and being a civilian, I didn't realize this. He said sitting 320 kilometers from Guadalajara, if I pushed several buttons, I could destroy that city within about 4 minutes. Now, when you have nuclear cruise missiles on there, it's pretty important.
Yep.
What amazed me is I've had the faucet. You're talking about fixing bathrooms and stuff. I've had the faucet break in my house, or I need new plumbing in my toilet, and I need to go buy stuff at Home Depot or the hardware store or whatever, $40, $50, $60, $70. To walk on one of these great big giant ships, seeing hundreds of thousands of valves and flanges and fittings and piping, miles of piping, and ungodly amounts of cables and technology, pharmacies, medical center, cafeteria to feed 400 or 500, vessels, not counting the weaponry, not counting the pay of the Marines and the Navy that's on there. Whew. Now I don't mind at all paying my taxes because I know where a lot of that money goes.
Yeah.
And thank God they're there protecting us and
keeping
keeping us safe and letting us live. So my word to all the military members, thank you very much for your service. We appreciate it very much. And God bless and keep each and one of you safe. Back to the Legion. That's my little spill. I just had to say what was on my heart. So, but I sure wish y'all had a Navy League because I'd like to go get on another cruiser or cutter or destroyer or battleship.
How about getting on a plane and jumping out?
Well, you know, I think I'll sit there in the back seat in the economy section.
My wife did one jump, and I tried to talk her out of it because they do train, you know, they run you through prep stuff in the morning and you jump in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I spent 5 or 6 days just learning to do parachute landing falls. And I said, you've got to, where it becomes natural when you do that, I said. And so she insisted she wanted it. This was before we got married. And so I lent her my wings to wear. She ended up fracturing her ankle.
Oh, no.
And so she said it was a great jump, but just the landing wasn't very
that's
good.
all it is, yeah. The landing was a little hard.
But anyways, the Legion, I think, is an important part of the community. I think we help a lot of people that we really don't realize we help. Working in tandem with city government and some of the other organizations, some of the civilian ones like the Amore in Action, which is not a government facility, but they do a beautiful job. And I wouldn't stop for a second on helping them. And we're fortunately, with events that we have, like we've got Labor Day coming up, and with all that, it's great. It really is.
I'm not exactly sure when this will air, but you do have Labor Day coming up, which is the end of August. And then not too far from there, we have Thanksgiving. And a lot of the expats will be back for that, a lot of the snowbirds. Any other news? I know there's always an open invitation to any former military to come to the American Legion and join the festivities, if it's just for a lunch or a breakfast or dinner, or to sign up, move your membership from one post back home, no matter if it's Hutchinson, Kansas, or Yahoo, Idaho. Wherever it is, they can move it down here and have a camaraderie of friends, someone that lived the life, walked the walk, and talked the talk like you have. And just, if you're a new expat down here, just have an immediate social group.
Yes, and it's a good group, really is. We have another program that if people want, they attend come to the Legion a lot for breakfast and drinks and everything. They have a support the Legion group. You get a little card, like a membership card. It costs 400 pesos, but
$20.
You get a 10% discount off your meals and everything. So it wouldn't take long to get that back, and that's good for a year. So again, we're open to the public. We're getting a lot of Mexican people in, and it's great. I love to see it. And I think our Legion has grown a lot in the sense of more of our guys looking to support the community. And so, in my opinion, I don't know what other legions do, but our Legion has been very, very community oriented.
Well, there's no doubt that you'll do great work in the community, and I'm sure you'll continue to do that. And is there anything else? We're about out of time for this segment of the show, but is there anything else you want to put out there? I know you have a general invitation open to all people to come over and learn a little bit, just sit and talk and visit. It's a great place. You have a lot of open areas, indoors, outdoors, and there's a lot of fun and camaraderie that goes on over there. I got to admit that.
There is, and if I'd say anything you can do to support the Legion, every peso that you spend in the Legion goes into funds to support the community. We don't just pay our rent and our electric bill. We go way beyond that.
Oh, I know you do.
And so I think if the community understands and that we do a lot for the community, and the only way we can do that is through the support of the community.
Well, Dan Williams is my guest today. I want to say thank you very much for coming, for sharing your information, for telling us about the post, telling us about all the things that goes on down here. And we appreciate your time. We appreciate the information you've given to the audience. Thank you very much. It's an
Thank
honor.
you.
And once again, sir, thank you very much for your service to our country and to the service of the communities where you served as fire chief.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and close this segment out of Expat Conversations with Michael Nolen. I want to say thank you for tuning in today. Please look on YouTube or listen to us on the University of Guadalajara radio station anytime you can. And please tell your friends, other expats that are interested in what's going on here, to contact us if they have questions about moving down here to the Lake Chapala area or the Puerto Vallarta area. We're more than happy to help out in any way we can. And again, Dan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Happy trails.